Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and yes, this is a video I guess I'm going to have to probably remake about every 6 months or so, because it does come up a lot. People will say, Jason, why are you wearing a belt when bench pressing? Really, they should be asking why I'm wearing a belt when I do curls and lateral raises. That's an even bigger question. The bench should be obvious, right? The bench is a big multi-joint exercise in which multiple muscles are involved. Why wouldn't you wear a belt? But I think the problem we have here is that a lot of people don't actually know why we wear belts at all. Because if you understand why we wear a belt, this question would not be asked. And it's due to misconceptions among very, very new lifters. And, people have this idea that, oh, we wear belts to protect our back on big lifts. No, we don't. Belt's not going to protect your back. It's not going to protect your back at all. It's not why we do it. We're like, well, it's to help you hold a more upright position on things like squats and deadlifts. Well, to some extent that's true on the squat. You're holding an upright position on a conventional deadlift. Have you ever seen anyone perform a conventional deadlift? Now, I'll put that aside and say, well, yeah, there is some truth to that, because if we are bracing our core really, really hard against that belt, what happens? Well, yeah, we are going to have more tightness through our trunk. We are going to be able to maintain a more rigid position. That is true. And that's a positive thing. But what else are we getting? We're getting a tighter, more rigid position. All right? Well, what are we doing on a bench press? When you bench press, you should be dug in tight. This is understood. Every strong bench presser knows this. You don't just flop down on the bench. You're setting in, right? You're pulling your scapula down and back. You're digging your glutes into the bench. You're usually driving your feet into the floor, right? Driving through the floor with tightness through your entire body. You should be super tight. Does a belt help you achieve that? Yes. You can brace your core against it. It helps you maintain a higher degree of tightness, especially through your entire trunk, right through your torso. And you need that to be tight. You have to be tight so your arch doesn't drop out. And we need an arch because it's safer for your shoulders, right? Again, everyone understands this who understands why we arch. Benching flat back's harder on your shoulders. Okay, so we have all of that, but why else are we really wearing a belt? Because we can brace our core against it. Well, what does that do? It gives us a radiation effect. It gives us an irradiation effect. Well, what does that mean? That means that other muscles near it have the ability to contract harder. Would that mean the pectorals? Yeah, that would. If your pectorals can contract harder because you have a belt in your bracing, and it's helping you maintain tightness, you're going to have a higher neuromuscular efficiency. Now, so why does that matter? I don't know. Why does recruiting muscle fibers matter? Why is recruiting motor units more efficiently matter? Well, how many of you guys focus on something like a mind-muscle connection when you do a curl? Which there is research showing a higher activation when you do that. It has been studied in the lab. They found on an EMG it actually does cause a little more activation of those motor units. So does being tight. So does bracing your core. Well, recruiting more motor units and more muscle fibers on each rep is beneficial. It's beneficial for lifting more weight, yes. But how about beneficial just for the fact that to make a muscle fiber grow, you need to recruit it and fatigue it? It makes sense, then, that anything that helps us recruit more muscle fibers on a set is potentially beneficial to us. Even if our goal is hypertrophy, if your goal is to make a muscle bigger, why wouldn't you want to recruit more muscle fibers? You have to. A muscle fiber that doesn't get recruited can't grow. So you want to do that. It's desirable. And in this case, the same people who focus on something like a mind-muscle connection who are doing that for hypertrophy purposes. We can argue about if that's the right way or not, but we can all agree it is effective anecdotally, and we have some experimental data showing the same thing in the lab. Okay, right? Because you want to recruit more muscle fibers in that muscle. So the belt helps you do that. It helps you get tighter to maintain better form, helps you get better neuromuscular efficiency so you recruit more muscle fibers. Right? That's a good thing. The same thing with gripping the bar hard, right? What's the first thing you were taught by a coach when you start performing any exercise, particularly anything where you hold the bar in your hand, like a bench press or an overhead press or a row? What does your coach teach you? One of the very, very first things you were taught by any lifter is that you squeeze the bar as hard as you possibly can. This is lifting 101. This is stuff that if you haven't been taught, you've been in the gym for 3 months, you have not gotten any advice from anyone who has any experience at all. This is basic, like first week stuff. You should be learning your first day in the gym, right? You squeeze the bar as hard as you can. Well, it produces the same thing, right? Higher neuromuscular efficiency. It also, again, helps you maintain tightness. Why do we want tightness? Prevents injuries, maintains more consistent form, right? Gives us more control. You can control the weight better when you are tight, especially on eccentric reps and things where you might need to control it, right? You want to be tight. You want to squeeze bars extremely hard. Doesn't matter whether it's a curl, an overhead press, a row, a bench press, all of that. You want to squeeze the holy hell out of that bar. You better learn to do that if you start doing weighted chin-ups or pull-ups. You're going to learn that real quick. You're going to have to squeeze that bar hard or your grip's going to give out. Well, the belt helps with that. Wrist straps help with that. So why wouldn't we wear a belt? Then people are going to notice me at the end of this, some of the clips. I'm doing it with curls. Yep. Think I'm worried about protecting my back? Well, maybe keeping your core tight might help with your back on heavy barbell curls, but what about the seated ones? I'm doing incline curls. Why? So I can contract my abs and squeeze harder. So I'll go so far as to say, if you can wear a belt on any exercise, you should be. And it's not just when you go heavy, it should be for your 10 rep sets, your work sets. Any set in which your goal is to maximize muscle fiber recruitment, you should have a belt on. What would that exclude? Maybe warm-ups? Because we don't care on warm-ups, but we're warming up to get the movement pattern down, and the bar path might be different without the belt. In which case you're not warming up, are you? Same thing with a curl. I am squeezing that bar as hard as I can. Got my abs braced against that belt so that I can squeeze the bicep harder. I want higher neuromuscular efficiency, right? Because I need my biceps to grow. They kind of suck. I can use any help I can get. And that's what the belt gives us. The only time I don't wear a belt is generally when it gets in the way. Right? It's kind of hard to wear a belt when you're training abs or doing a reverse hyper and some of those things. Most of your exercises, you could benefit from a belt. And it doesn't hurt you. Like there's no downside to wearing it. If you already have the belt with you, you already own one. I mean, I've got a couple of belts that are worth over $100. I already have them. Why wouldn't we use them? There's only potential benefits with no downside. Well, you have to put it on. Not really that big of a deal, guys. No harder than loading and unloading plates. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.